24/7 Comfort on call.
Hello, Brad.
Chris, ladies and gentlemen at home, do I have a story to share with all of you, and it has to do with the two ex-stranded astronauts, Butch and Suni. They just had a meeting with the press, if you will, a couple days ago, and then some of them were allowed to have one-on-ones with various reporters, okay? And today's story comes from one of those reporters, Eric Berger at ArsTechnica.com. Starliner's flight to the space station was far wilder than most of us thought.
Okay.
So I'll just give you some of the bullet points, but I want to say you've got to read the whole story at ArsTechnica.com, okay? But here are the bullet points, okay? So Butch Wilmore was always concerned from the get-go about the potential for thruster problems, and that's because, Chris, back in 2022, Starliner went up to the International Space Station, nobody inside. It was just totally autonomous, docked, came back down, okay? But it had thruster problems itself, so that was always in the back of his mind that we might have thruster problems, okay? So as Starliner, with Butch and Suni inside, approached the International Space Station, the first thruster failed. That forced Williams to take manual control of the vehicle when it was already about 850 feet from the station. And then moments later, the Starliner lost its second thruster, okay? But he still had good control of the ship, so he wasn't too worried yet. But he knew that if they lost another thruster, it was mandatory procedure that they had to abort the docking attempt. Because when you're close to the International Space Station, you better have control of your ship, because not only are you in danger,
the whole space station's in
danger.
The
$100 billion space station and all of the individuals inside, okay? And as luck would have it, the third thruster failed, and then the fourth, okay? So they no longer had any forward control of the vessel at all, okay? And they knew that they needed to abort this docking procedure. Ground control was scrambling, trying to decide, well, what do we do? Because we can't successfully dock with the station, and now there's not even enough control to situate the capsule so they could return back down to Earth. They were.
Right.
You know, what are you going to do?
So they knew then that they were very likely, if they were successful, they were going to be stuck there.
Correct. Well, here you go. This is a direct quote from Butch. There was a lot of unsaid communication like, hey, this is a very precarious situation we're in, and I think both of us, both he and Suni, overwhelmingly felt like it would be really nice to dock with that space station that's right in front of us. We knew that Mission Control were working really hard to be able to keep communication with us and then send us commands, but we were also both thinking, what if we lose communication with the ground? Now we have to make decisions and we have a ship that doesn't work. Can you imagine being in that situation?
This is a movie.
It is. Mission Control decided to reset the thrusters by rebooting the main computer on the ship, leaving the ship totally just adrift in space with Butch and Suni. I mean, how would you like to be in that situation, okay? So it comes back up with two of the four thrusters back online, but now a fifth one that hadn't failed before was failing. So there was still some control. In fact, Butch Williams said, you know, I had control, but it was very sluggish. And worse than that, when thrusters would fire, instead of firing smooth, like on, off, it was more like on, off, on, off. You know, it was like really hard to control, okay? So it was decided that let's reboot the computer again, which they did. The process recovered all but one thruster. At that point, they actually put it in its full autonomous mode, and it successfully docked with the International Space Station. But the bottom line is, we never knew all of this, and you now understand why it took them weeks to decide, should we send them back in this thing or should we not? They ended up staying there, and all I can say through it all, those are American heroes right there, Butch and Suni.
I just, like, reboot a computer. Like, that's hard enough to do here, right? It will be a movie. All I can think of is a scene from Interstellar when they can't get it to dock properly. Okay. All right, Brett, thanks so much. Have a great weekend. Still